the All-Star event finished, I thought I would go back and take a look at the All-Star event in its entirety, as well as all of the cards that updated after the skills and the actual game was completed. I talked about this in prior videos about the All-Star event, but it's usually one of the best non-team of the year, team of the season, or fantasy hockey event that we get each season. So let's take a look. Now, before we even get into the actual event cards, let's talk quickly about the master sets, which, in all honesty, they were pulling from one specific All-Star event back when Toronto last had the event, which makes sense and is relevant. However, it just didn't land. Honestly, a lot of these cards were power-up icons, and anytime they do that, the excitement is just kind of sucked out of it. On top of that, one of the biggest revelations since the newest event style icons is that it costs the exact same amount of power-up collectibles to get a 92 Master Set player in this event as it does to get a style icon all the way up to 93. It's 21 power-up collectibles for both. So essentially, you're saving the 92 to 93 overall cost, and the only difference is that instead of it being 6,000 coins in value to make the Master Set player, it's 15,000. So with a 9,000 coin difference, that doesn't even come close to offsetting the 3 power-up collectibles it costs to go from 92 to 93. So all in all, the Master Set players from the All-Star event were just an absolute disaster, in my opinion. Now, the biggest issue about these event cards, in my opinion, is that they just started out far too low in overall. I think we could all agree that when they came out at 87 overall, they just left a lot to be desired. If you go back in the past of the 3-on-3 events, the record for most goals in a 3-on-3 event is 5. So even if a player was able to pop off and get 5, which is the record, they'd be a 92, which would match the Master Set player items. On top of that, when they won the actual skills competitions, like Connor McDavid, who won fastest skater, instead of getting 99 speed and acceleration like in past years, they got silver abilities, which is just not nearly the same in terms of value towards the player base. And then when you take a look at the players who had a very good all-star performance, Alex DeBrincat with 3 different goals, he gets to 94 speed, 94 acceleration, 95 agility, which is great. He's got 80 endurance, extremely low body checking, and he's 5'8", 178. You can't do anything about that. Even for Red Wings fans, this card just wasn't very exciting. Philip Forsberg as well, with 3 different goals in his all-star performance, ended up at 89 speed, 90 acceleration, further highlighting that they were just so low in overall when they started the event. In my opinion, they should have started at 90 overall, and if someone was to score 5 goals, you have one random card that's at 95. Even worse, the All-Star MVP, Austin Matthews, wasn't even the highest rated by the time that the event was done. He's got 89 speed, 89 acceleration, 89 agility. There's just far better Austin Matthews cards out there. And again, this was the MVP of the event. And then you've got the goalies, which had the smallest impact on the game simply because they only played a period each. Jake Ottinger actually became the best All-Star card out of this entire event. He's been extremely usable. He's got great abilities, so that's fantastic. But again, they don't play nearly as much as the forwards do, and they were only in one skills competition. Igor Shesterkin was the other winner, getting up to a 91 overall. I just think that what the All-Star event can do for the player base is that anyone who starts out in, let's say, January or maybe around Christmas time, it's a great reset and allows players that are fans of each of these teams to get cards of their favorite players that aren't base cards. For example, Nikita Kucherov, for example, it would have been great if they were the same cost to get these 87 overalls, only they started at 90. They just would have been far more exciting, in my opinion. Now, there are a couple of these All-Star cards that are actually really good, and Jake Ottinger is number one. Like I mentioned, I've gone up against him a few times just today, and he was easily one of the most noticeable goaltenders I've faced in quite some time. They also offer a pretty unique discount because a lot of players are just trying to get rid of these cards. For example, a lot of people have the Team of the Year Nathan MacKinnon, so if they packed him, or let's say they bought him in case he popped off of the All-Star game, they're going for very cheap. In comparison to other 89 and 90 overall Nathan MacKinnon cards, his All-Star card is extremely cheap, almost half the price. So if you are someone that is trying to get an impactful card, Nathan MacKinnon is one of them. Another pretty nasty card would be Matthew Barzal, but that's simply because his skating is always so good, and he's got 97 with speed boost activated. I think another issue that's kind of highlighted by this event is that this was the lowest scoring All-Star game in the last 5 years. So when there's just a very small amount of goals in the game, there was 28 in total in the 3 games that were played. On average over the last 5 years, it's about 36. So obviously that's just fewer cards to get overall boost. Just would have been better had it started at 90 overall for the same price price that it was to make them at 87. The one added benefit is that the 88 and above cards, because everyone is trying to offload them, are going for a pretty good price. If you are trying to make, let's say, power-up collectibles or other trade-ins for 88 and above items, this obviously won't last very long, as they will eventually dry up. More and more players are trying to just use these cards in trade-in sets as to actually using them, but it just goes to further highlight that this event just really didn't land this year. Now, I do want to highlight some positives, and that is some of these insane cards that they put out, like the 90 Zdeno Chara for his hardest shot win, and obviously Danny Heatley's MVP. These cards are among the best at their position, and they were just random event cards. I mean, this Bill Guerin that somehow won fastest skater in the early 2000s is actually crazy to me, but giving them 99 speed and excel is wild, because if they were able to do that and they were willing to do that, they should have just been able to make whoever won the fastest skater get 99 overall speed and excel, which would have made the events so much more interesting while the events were going on. So again, that's just my feedback on the All-Star event. I'd love to hear what your feedback is. It's one of my favorite events all year round, just simply because usually there's great interaction with the actual event, as well as inside Hockey Ultimate Team, and anytime they do that, I think it's just a great experience in-game. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.